my presentation. So, good morning. Today, we'll be having two topics. But before we proceed with the two topics for Competency Appraisal 2, let us have first a kamustahan of the learning lessons or the learnings that you had last session. So last session, we had a synchronous class. But prior to that, we had synchronous classes. May review classes pa nga tayo. Ano? What I would like you to do is to go to this particular app. This is the passcode. And I would like to see your learnings last session. So let me just put the link on our chat box. Okay, there you go. And then while we are looking at navigating at that app, the Slido app, I will unlock the voting session. This is actually the question that I would like you to answer. What are the learnings that you got last session? So let us see your answers. Siguro nagta-type pa. Naka-access ba ng poll? The link is already on the chat box. Bear in mind the link because we will use that as we go over with our discussion for today. Any answers, learnings from the last session for our Competency Appraisal 2 class? We are waiting for the answers. May nagsasagot po ba? Raise your hand if you're answering so that I'll know. Okay. 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 So we are waiting for your answers. Parang mahaba ata ang tinatype ng BSP4 sa learnings natin last session. Okay? Sige. Let me navigate first and go to our... Okay, so you are raising your hand, meaning you are trying to answer the poll. So we are waiting for your answers to this poll. The question is your learnings last session. Competency Appraisal 2 is actually review of the topics that technically you will take as a board exam subjects. So Competency Appraisal 2 is divided into two, IO Psych and Psychological Assessment. And it has been our 7th week already. So we discussed a lot of things already, whether synchronous or asynchronous. So what I would like to know now are your learnings last session. Wala pa rin akong nakikitang sagot. Bakit kaya? Okay. Sige. Let us see. 2 minutes if there are answers. Bakit hindi siya nalabas? Let me just refresh. Baka naman may sagot na. Hindi ko palang nakikita. Okay. Let me have the question number 1. Oh, guys, wala pang sagot. Kahit isa, wala akong nare-receive. Come on. Ayun, at last. Medyo mahaba nga yung mga learnings. Let us try to read the learnings. I learned that training is not easy to conduct. There are always pros and cons with the technique you will use. And technically, there are techniques that you may employ in the training. Tama, last session, it's about training and managing training. I learned that the people or the person that we will include in our character reference must know us personally. So ito naman, more of the recruitment and selection, yung naalala. Previous session, understand the different factors that affect the level of motivation as well as work values present to the employees for them to fully cope with their work activities as well as the satisfaction they have in the organization. Actually, we will discuss employee satisfaction later. So the motivation is somehow relative to satisfaction. No, kapag satisfied ka sa trabaho mo, what makes you satisfied and motivated to be part still of the organization? You learned about job analysis, recruitment and selection, performance appraisal. These are the processes, the topics that we had the previous meetings, the processes that will take place and the persons responsible for doing them. What about the others? Do I have only 4 students inside the meeting room? If you cannot access the poll, you may type in your answers on the chat box. But it would be better if you type your answers on the poll so that we can have it ready and read now. Ayan. So, meron tayong mga sagot dito. How about the others? So, job analysis, recruitment and selection, performance appraisal, training. There are a lot of things, different tests needed, how to make a good job description, job analysis, parang prior meeting iyon, ano, combination of job analysis still and recruitment that will also be used in our video infographic. Ang gaganda ng mga infographics na ginawa ng class. Different types of motivation, internal and external, of course, because motivation depends on the person. Minsan yung means to be motivated natin, different. Exactly different with the motivations that others have with themselves. Pwedeng money, promotion, many other things. Of course, the training methods like coaching, modeling. How about the others? Can we have more answers? We only have 7 answers in our poll. So, the commonality that I actually see on the learnings are the topics that were presented: job analysis, recruitment and selection, performance appraisal and management, training, motivation. But I hope that you did not only get the terminologies, the meanings, or the nature of these terms or topics. So it would be better if you know the process, the skills needed. Let's say, for example, when you graduate, you will be assigned on recruitment and selection. Mas maganda na ang nakuha mo dun sa topic natin na diniscuss or binasa mo or ni-review mo, it's not about what is recruitment, what is selection, but how to execute. Because I also provided with you outcomes-based assessments, may mga activities that will really measure your competencies. Can I see more answers? Parang na-stuck na sa 7. Nag-iisip pa ba yung iba? Or gising ba yung iba? Baka may hangover pa ng talent portion kahapon sa Gen Ed 1. Okay, so a minute or 2, let us hear or let us see some more answers for this poll. Ayan, meron pang isa. I was able to understand the factors that affect employee satisfactions and its necessary ways to address those factors. I was also enlightened about the different theories under employees' motivation and the important people under employee motivation. I'm trying to recall whether I pinpointed some pioneers for employee motivation. Meron nga, may mga theories kasi doon na presented. How can we sustain the motivation of an employee to stay in an organization? I learned the different biases in recruitment. Of course, hindi mawawala yan, especially Filipinos, the the backer system, padrino system, we have that. But as future personnel in the HR, so you are the ones who should avoid that. So pag kayo na yung naging manager, kayo na yung naging supervisor, it would be better to avoid the biases. The importance of wearing nice and decent clothes in front of the interviewer, the advantages, the questions that we can have when we are the ones who will ask questions to the applicants, etc. Okay, so we can go back to these questions later on, but let me just have the continuation of our topic. Kasi alam ko, eager kayong sumagot, ano? So wala namang mali or tamang sagot dito sa learning sessions or the learnings that you had last session, because these are the things that you remember. Meron nga mga sumagot, no? Job analysis pa, that's one actually long time ago. And then yung mga recruitment, the previous ones are yung training and motivation. But it's good that you're still have in mind those topics that are essential for IO psychology. Very good. Today, for our class, we'll have two topics. So bear in mind with me, bear with me, and let us have a fruitful discussion. I am encouraging active participation, yung pagsasagot sa mga poll, and of course, pagsagot sa akin dito sa klase. So if you wish to answer my questions, especially if it's not on the form of the poll, I ask questions during the session, you may unmute yourself and share your answers. So it would be better if we'll have an exchange of ideas and communication so that we will learn from each other. Bear with me also because we might consume the period that we have for competency appraisal 2. Hayaan nyo na si Doc Lou kasi ay minsan lang tayo nakikita, no? So dapat i-maximize natin yung time. Okay, so we'll have two topics, employee satisfaction and commitment, and at the same time, organizational communication. So the first one is employee satisfaction and commitment. And as we go over with our topic, what would I want you to do is to answer this question. So some of you were employees before, nag-work kayo as let's say crew ng Jollibee or any fast food chains, or nakapag-work na kayo before. I suppose merong mga working students dito sa klase natin. And if ever na hindi pa rin kayo nagiging empleyado, what do you think? If you will put yourself on the situation ng mga employees, what makes an employee satisfied and committed with his or her job? Again, you have to use the app of the Slido. The passcode is 3230931. So I will navigate again and let us see your answers to the poll. Okay, so naka-unlock na siya. The question is, what makes an employee satisfied and committed with his or her job? Come on, I'm waiting for your answers. If you are not yet experiencing becoming an employee or a personnel, you may put yourself on the situation. Kung empleyado ka, bakit ka ba nagiging satisfied, committed? So we have one answer here, the salary and the good co-employee. Very practical lang sumagot nito. Tama naman. We are being employed. We are working because of our needs to get our salary, di ba? So important 'yon. Kapag hindi maganda yung salary, makes us dissatisfied or uncommitted to our job. Our co-employees also play vital role. Kahit na ngayon na pandemic, na online yung mga class or yung mga work setup, malaki din yung influence nila dun sa ating commitment and satisfaction sa trabaho. Motivation. Saan kayang motivation? Very general yung sagot. Mabait na boss at workmates, of course. And then I think the benefits, compensation, working environment, money, promotion, good working environment, reasonable work environment ba? Maraming sagot, work environment. High paying job, ano pa? People choose to stay infatuated with his co-workmates. Okay, the relationship that you had, sound relationships, yun nga, with colleagues and boss. Mhm. What else? Benefits, of course, money for practical reason, of course, to support not only your family but the needs of yourself. Learnings. That's a good answer. If the organization can provide you learnings, that may be reasons for satisfaction and commitment. What about the other answers? The commendation that you got from the job, that's good also, no? Yung pinupuri ka sa mga nagawa mo. Okay. Promotion, salary, self-satisfaction. Sweldo, maayos na ka-work. Mhm. Intrinsic motivation. Ano kaya yung mga intrinsic motivation na sinasabi? No? Very vague yung answer. View me as their worker rather than a servant. Parang merong hugot yung sumagot nito. The company views me as a worker. Ako ay manggagawa, hindi ako alipin. Siguro may pinagdaanan nito dati na ang tingin ng company sa kanya ay servant siya who would like to feel or to be treated as servant. Of course, everyone works, employees work for reasons. Healthy communication with coworkers and managers. What else? Parang may narinig ako na meron sigurong sumagot sa chat. Okay, true po. Oo, sumagot si Ian siya. Healthy communication with coworkers and managers, salary, good workplace environment, and coworkers. Let us see more answers. May common, Bakit sa tingin natin, yung mga empleyado ay satisfied at committed sa trabaho nila? These are the reasons. Walang mali, walang tamang sagot kasi perspective nyo to. Sabi ko nga, pwedeng naging empleyado na kayo before, empleyado kayo ngayon, or ito yung nakikita ninyo doon sa mga empleyado, yung mga working at present. No? Salary, workplace environment, co-workers, passion, yung feeling inside the company that you are not a servant, you're a worker, passion at work. Very personal naman yung sagot nito. You are satisfied and committed sa work kasi passion mo yon, yung pagtatrabaho mo. Better work environment, benefits, money, benefits, promotion, very personal growth. At the same time, professional growth, promotion, ayan. Matumbasan din ang bigay ng company. Hindi lang dapat tayo ang nakaka-benefit, kundi pati na rin ang company sa atin. Of course, it's a give and take relationship. Sa relationship nga, di ba, hindi pwedeng tanggap ka lang ng tanggap. Dapat marunong ka rin magbigay. So, para rin siyang trabaho. Meron tayong mga bagay na nakakapag-satisfy sa atin, nakakapag-commit sa atin, pero dapat we're also considering what makes the company satisfied to us as an employee. Okay, babalikan natin. Maganda ang mga sagot dito sa tanong na ito. So those are some of the reasons why an employee is satisfied and committed with his or her job. I couldn't agree more with your answers. Now, satisfaction and commitment are considered organizational attitudes. And these are very important for an employer, for an organization, kasi yung work ng isang empleyado, ng isang personnel, in one way or another will depend on how he or she is satisfied and committed to his or her job. When you talk about job satisfaction, this has something to do with the attitude of the employee towards his or her job. When you talk about attitude, marami yan. Yung feelings mo, yung ano pa ba ang attitude? Yung thoughts mo dun sa trabaho mo, hindi lang nararamdaman no? Maraming aspeto that makes you satisfied or that gives your attitude towards dun sa organization mismo o sa trabaho mo. Ano ba yung nafe-feel mo? Ano yung naiisip mo dun sa trabaho mo that may in one way or another affect your performance? Organizational commitment, on the other hand, is the extent to which an employee identified with the organization, yung involvement niya dun sa organization. It may be affective, continuance, and normative. Pag sinabi natin affective, yung feelings natin dun sa company, kapag 'di ba may relationship tayo, para kasi yung ating pagpasok sa isang organization, parang relationship 'yan eh. nilalagay natin yung sarili natin doon sa organization. Ano ba yung nafe-feel natin doon sa organization? Maganda ba? Or mag-grow ba ako dito? Kikita ba ako dito? Hindi lang pagkita eh. Yung mga bagay-bagay na positive na pwede mong makuha sa trabaho, effective yon, no? Yung ano yung worth ko dito sa trabaho na to, ano yung nararamdaman mo. Continuance naman is about your, let's say, your fear of losing the job. Minsan, you are staying in the company because you don't have any choice at all. You need to stay in the company and you have that fear of losing the job. So kaya ka nagstay because of still the feeling of losing the job. Pag naman normative, the feeling is that you are committed. Your thought is that you are committed in this job because I have the purpose. I have the reasons and I am a need in this organization. Okay. So these things are important for the employee, for the employer, for the employee to have good performance. Syempre pag hindi maganda yung pakiramdam mo no dun sa trabaho, hindi ka satisfied kung ano man yung tinatrabaho mo or yung mga bagay na nakapaloob dun sa trabaho, you cannot perform well. So yung question nga dito, why do you think we care about this? What do you think? Why do you think we care about job satisfaction and organizational commitment? Who wants to answer or volunteer? Sabi ko ay organizational attitudes yung JS at OC. And important ito. So, nakita na natin ano yung job satisfaction, ano yung commitment, and I mentioned that these are important. And why do you think we have to care about job satisfaction and organizational commitment? Sige, tingnan natin dahil walang mag-volunteer. Magvo-volunteer ako ng tao na sasagot. Can I have Jerlyn Vitobina? Why do we need to care about job satisfaction and organizational commitment?
To have an effective to have an effective result at work kasi kapag po hindi ka satisfied sa ginagawa mo, parang hindi po magiging effective yung work mo. Kunyari po, pwede kang magkamali or kapag satisfied ka, mas magagawa mo ng effective yung trabaho mo po, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Very good. How about yung iba pa nating thoughts? May nagtaas ng kamay. Mary Elaine, go ahead. Elaine?
Ma'am, may question po muna ako bago sumag. Ito, ang question niyo po ba is as an employee or as an part of the organization po, halimbawa po being an HR or being the may-ari of the company po?
Let us try to look at the perspective ng HR. Kasi tayo yon, hindi ba? What do you think?
Sige. Kapag po merong magandang foundation po ng satisfaction and ng commitment po ang ating mga employees toward our company po, magkakaroon po sila ng mas mahabang term po sa ating company. Whereas, halimbawa po yung isang employee na po yun is effective sa ating company po sa work na ginagawa niya. It is important po to build the good level of satisfaction po and the strong commitment po towards the company para po mas maalagaan natin ng employee at yung mga employee po mas maalagaan ng ating company.
Oh, halatang-halatang si Elaine ay nagwo-work, ano? May background siya. May background siya na, oo, importante talaga siya. Thank you, Elaine. Of course, si Jerlyn, yung sagot niya ay very good din naman. Ano, nakikita mo yung perspective kapag makikita mo if ay working siya, meron siyang experience. Kaya nasasabi niya itong mga bagay na to. Thank you. Si Marks, Shelleen, nagtaas din siya ng kamay. Can we know your thoughts?
Opo, ma'am. Bale, yung parang yung workforce po, parang yung manpower po, parang yun po yung parang importante po sa company. Kaya parang same with all other relationship. Pag iniingatan po natin na mas nagtatagal nga po sila. Yun po.
Oo, tama. Thank you. Sabi ko nga parang relasyon, ano? Actually, relasyon talaga. Kapag tayo ay naging empleyado ng isang company, we are putting ourselves on that organization. Sarili natin ang nilalagay natin. So, para mas magkaroon ng magandang relationship, sabi nga ni Elaine, the manpower, yung stay niya sa organization, good performance, sabi ni Jerlyn at saka ni Mark, Celine, we have to look at the job satisfaction and commitment of the employees. Pataasin natin. Meron yan innate. Innate naman ang pagiging satisfied ng isang tao, pagiging committed ng isang tao. Pero the role of an HR personnel is to at least balance this, maintain, and improve kung meron pang pwedeng itaas yung satisfaction and commitment. Very good yung mga answers. So satisfied employees are more likely like this. These are the characteristics. They are committed to the organization. Parang tandem si satisfaction at committed. Kapag satisfied sa empleyado, most likely, according to researches din, committed siya dun sa organization. Hindi niya iiwanan yung trabaho kasi satisfied siya May nakita siya dun sa organization na nakakapagpa-stay sa kanya dun sa trabaho na yun. Also, satisfied employees ay hindi malimit umabsent. So, reduce absenteeism. So, kapag maliit yung absenteeism rate ng mga empleyado, di mas natatapos yung mga trabaho, yung tasks were done properly and on time. Of course, reduce tardiness. Kayo nga yung mga students, kapag gusto nyo yung subject, or excited kayo, let's say, of a particular event, ang aga niyong pumasok, di ba? As much as possible, hindi ka nalilate. Of course, you have reasons bakit ka nalilate. Pero, the thing is, if you're satisfied, if you're eager or motivated of a particular thing, syempre, you will do something like attending to it earlier, di ka a-absent, kasi, ay, may nakikita ako dito, or may nakikita ka dito sa, let's say, sa webinar or sa subject na to. Same goes with the employees. So, hindi walang context ng katamaran. So, merong motivated to wake up early kasi very eager na pumasok and all. Makikita natin, satisfied yung mga employees pag ganito. Higher performance, of course, walang absent, wala ring late, di nakakapag-perform ng maayos kasi gusto niya yung ginagawa niya. Nakikita niya yung organization as a tool or something that would improve or develop him or her. More OCBs. Ano yung OCBs? Organizational Citizenship Behavior. Meron tayong mga responsibilities sa company. Pero may mga bagay na ginagawa tayo para sa company for its, let's say, growth and for it to be successful na wala naman dun sa contract natin. Wala doon sa ating tasks or job description. Pero ginagawa natin, it's because we know that it can contribute to the company and satisfied nga kasi tayo So, sa kanina may sumagot, give and take. Hindi lang dapat yung satisfied tayo, dapat nasa-satisfied din yung organization sa atin. So, kung satisfied yung employees, gumagawa din siya ng mga bagay na beyond his or her tasks or responsibilities in the company. So more of organizational citizenship behavior. And fewer CWBS naman is counterproductive work behavior. So ito naman yung mga bagay, behavior that are not aligned with the meeting of the goals and the objectives of the company. So yung mga absenteeism yan, yung mga unnecessary behaviors na ginagawa ng isang empleyado, tardiness, hindi gumagawa ng trabaho, napasok lang, pero parang pumapasok, then wala namang natatapos. So, maaring hindi siya satisfied dun sa trabaho niya, sa organization, or merong bagay bakit hindi siya satisfied. So, we will talk about more of this as we go over with our discussion. So the job satisfaction is being affected by individual differences. No two individuals are exactly alike. Kanina, dun sa sagot ninyo sa poll, may iba't ibang reasons bakit sa tingin ninyo ang empleyado ay satisfied. Tama naman. Merong practical reason, merong intrinsic, merong extrinsic. It depends on the person. And this is based on the individual difference theory that we are different nga. We have different experiences, different personalities and traits na nakakaapekto dun sa ating attitude sa ating trabaho. Even genes have an effect on our job satisfaction. Siguro yung expectations ng family, kapag yung mataas, of course, genetic components has something to do with our chromosomes, our cells, and yung mga traits na na-inherit natin sa ating family. Pero also, the family play vital role with our satisfaction. Kaya pala hindi ka masatisfied kasi meron kang something dyan sa katawan mo, genes, genetic, that's very hard to explain. Kaya kahit anong gawin mo, kahit anong motivation ng HR personnel, hindi ka pa rin masatisfied. So, pwedeng genetic predispositions yung dahilan. Or our core self-evaluations, emotional stability, self-esteem, self-efficacy, internal locus of control. Pag sinabi natin emotional stability, how we control our emotions, how we control our feelings in a given situation. Halimbawa, may nakaaway ka sa company, tapos very sensitive ka, nadala mo na yon all throughout your work. So, maapektuhan yung satisfaction mo sa trabaho mo. Kahit na ang dahilan lang naman, it's because of a coworker. Self-esteem has something to do with your view of your self-worth. Sa trabaho, nakita mo na, meron akong contribution na nabibigay sa company. Kaya satisfied ka kasi pag mataas ang self-esteem mo, mas nagiging uplift yung personality mo o yung self mo. And later on, it will affect how you respond to your job or your task. Kasi nakikita mo, may worth ako, importante ako dito sa trabaho ko. Ayan. Self-efficacy naman, what is self-efficacy? It has something to do with, it's somehow related with self-esteem. Yung outcomes na ginagawa mo sa trabaho mo, it's because of your capability, kasi may skills ka, tamang-tama yung timpla mo dun sa company, kaya it's a belief that you have that skills to perform the job, kaya satisfied ka dun sa trabaho mo. Internal locus of control, it has something to do with, of course, you have your expectations on the job, na ma-manage mo ba yon, na nami-meet mo ba yung expectations, nami-meet mo ba yung standards na binibigay, productive ka ba, let's say, sa trabaho mo. So, it will affect your satisfaction towards your job. Culture. Merong mga tao na mataas nga ang standards of things, or paano bang example ng culture? They are, this particular culture, ang gusto nilang trabaho nila, it's more of office, it's more of, let's say, higher management, upper management. Kaya lang, ang binigay sa kanya, dahil starting pa lang siya, let's say, ay dun muna lang siya sa rank and file. So, it will affect the way he or she views the job. Kasi, hindi yun yung expectations ng society niya sa kanya. Kasi sa community nila, let's say, ang part of their culture is to be part of the upper management. May mga ganon, ano? Syempre, let's say fresh graduate, unang trabaho, binigyan minsan ng nasa baba muna. And then eventually mag-grow. So, pwedeng maka-affect din yon sa satisfaction ng trabaho. And intelligence. Intelligence influences the satisfaction. Intelligence does not mean cognitive ability. Pwede rin yung skills, competencies mo, the multiple intelligence ni Howard Gardner, na nagagawa mo yung trabaho mo, ano pa. You have the knowledge of the work. Yung kasali ka sa trabaho, hindi ka iba, hindi ka alien. Kasi you're being part of the company, you're being part of the job, it may influence your satisfaction. Other factors, aspects of life, your family, friends, location, merong gusto, proximity-wise, gusto malapit sa trabaho kasi mas satisfied, konti yung babayaran, konti yung travel expenses, okay lang. Friends, may also affect your trabaho. Lalo na yung mga fresh grad, gusto magkakasama. I don't know kung ganun rin yung generation nyo ngayon. When I was in college and then I graduated, gusto ko yung mga friends ko kasama ko sa trabaho ko. Parang very attached. Yung attachment na meron tayo dun sa ibang tao, nakaka-apekto yun sa satisfaction. At saka kung yung mga coworkers mo, kaibigan mo, kung hindi mo sila kaibigan, parang hindi naman enemy, but just a colleague, it will affect your satisfaction towards job. Of course, your family, expectations of your family, dapat ganito ka. Dapat ganito yung trabaho mo. Hindi naman maipagmamalaki yung work mo. Something like that would affect satisfaction. And then what else? Expectations are very important factor in determining job satisfaction. If yung values mo na-meet, the reality of the job, promises, obligations, at saka yung turnover intentions. Turnover intentions has something to do with the the come and go of the employee. Pag daw merong pag may nawala sa empleyado, may nag-resign, may nag-retire, syempre, papaltan mo yon, may babalik. Meron kang ipapalit dun sa tao na yon. Later, we will have some more of the turnover. So these are factors that influence job satisfaction. Good fit with the organization, also one of the factors, yung mga salary, rewards, benefits, consistent with efforts and performance, kung interest mo ba yung trabaho mo. Halimbawa, interest mo is drawing. And then nakalagay naman siya doon sa job specification. Job description na. Sige, sabihin natin. Kaya lang, hindi naman ikaw nilagay doon. During the placement, hindi yun yung line of work mo. Hindi mo na-enjoy, hindi mo interest. Ang trabaho mo lang is mag-photocopy, mag-file. So, hindi mo na-enjoy, nakaka-influence siya dun sa satisfaction sa trabaho mo. Your lifestyle, your personality, lifestyle. Last Saturday, I had a client wherein may problema siya sa yung jump from one company to the other. Sabi ko, bakit? Hindi daw siya nasa-satisfied kasi hindi niya nakikita yung satisfaction. Parang more of, 3 months, after 3 months, hindi niya tinatapos yung contract niya. I don't know kung anong nangyayari. Pero, lumilipat siya ng ibang company. And then when I asked her, bakit ganon? Meron ka bang nakakaaway sa company mo? Meron ka bang problema sa boss mo? Sabi niya, hindi kasi siya mag-meet sa lifestyle ko bilang isang tao. So, nakaka-influence siya, dun sa satisfaction ng tao. At the same time, yung commitment niya na mag-stay dun sa company, yung lifestyle niya. Kasi yung lifestyle niya, gusto niya, after a certain period, hindi siya mag-work beyond hours. Tapos happy-go-lucky siya. Gusto niya, work. Wala nang halong iba na relationship or whatsoever. And at the same time, yun nga, she is not willing to work beyond hours. Kasi ito yung lifestyle niya. Also, your personality, skills may influence satisfaction. What else? Your coworkers, your supervisors, your job itself, nakaka-influence yan. And isa pa, if your tasks are enjoyable, na-enjoy mo ba yung trabaho mo or wala ka lang choice kundi gawin yung trabaho mo na yon. Siyempre, nakaka-influence yun. If you are not enjoying, the tendency is you're not satisfied with your work because you don't find it interesting enough. Other factors, ayan nga, supervisors, co-workers. We also have social information processing theory. Minsan na-adapt natin. Halimbawa, pumasok tayo sa isang company, ay hindi sila satisfied. Ang dami kong naririnig sa kanila. Hindi naman sinisiraan yung company, pero marami silang negative experiences dun sa company. Na-adapt mo, nagiging unhappy ka rin. Kaya importante rin yung we avoid toxic people. Actually, hindi lang sa trabaho, kundi sa buhay. Kasi minsan nakakahawa. Pagpasok mo pa lang, kahit online, ang maririnig mo sa kanya, negative things about the company. So how will you be motivated? How will you have good behavior or attitudes towards the company kung initial pa lang naririnig mo agad yon? Ako, nilalayuan ko yung mga tao na yon. Though, of course, as psych majors, we have to be appreciative and recognize the negative emotions. Pero minsan, tama naman. Kasi masaya ako. Ang ganda-ganda ng buhay. So, wag mo akong gayahin sa'yo. Pero may ganong aspeto. Nakakahawa yung mga unhappy coworkers. At the same time, the happy coworkers. And then, equity theory, practicality, perceptions. Equity theory, nakikita mo ba na yung trabaho mo, let's say you have the same job with others, pareho kayo ng sweldo, pareho kayo ng recognition na nakukuha, nakaka-apekto yon. Yung mga biases, yung, ay, ba't ganun? Ang quota namin na makapag-interview sa isang araw ay 5. Ako, 5 ang nagawa ko. Siya 4. Pero siya pinuri, ako hindi. Tapos ang taas pa ng sweldo niya, ako ang baba. So it may have an effect on your satisfaction, syempre. Kasi we want to have a sense of balance and equality. Lalo na if there's a point of comparison. Nako-compare mo yung sarili mo sa ibang empleyado. So yung mga hours work, ba't ganun? Siya tapos na, uwi na siya. And then, okay na kay boss. Ako, nandito pa rin, nagagawa pa rin ako ng report. So it may have an effect on your satisfaction. Of course, to avoid this, you have to, as an HR personnel, you have to inform them with bakit ganito ang nangyayari. And at the same time, avoid the biases. Avoid the the things na magkaiba. Pareho ng posisyon, pareho din dapat ng ginagawa. Pareho din ng nature of work, pareho ng salary, etc. Meron tayong tinatawag na organizational justice. So, it has something to do with the fairness in the company. It can be distributive, procedural, or interactional. Pag sinabi nating distributive justice, yung fairness in the company in a way na nafe-feel mo ba na may favorite sa company? Yung boss mo, favorite siyang i-promote. Yung boss mo, favorite siyang pagalitan. Dalawa lang naman yun eh, no? Favorite in a positive way or favorite in a negative way. So, maaaring, yan, lumabas na yung mga sagot nyo kanina na backer system, etc. Favorite siya kasi kamag-anak pala siya. Or favorite siyang kagalitan kasi may history sa kanya yung kamag-anak or whatsoever. It has something to do with the distributive justice. Pag procedural justice naman, it has something to do with the decision making. Sabi kasi, if you're part of an organization, you should be part also of the decision making. Yung bang boss mo o yung employer mo allows you to be part of the decision making of an organization. O sige ha, magre-recruit tayo ngayong time na to. Okay lang ba? Okay lang ba na maglabas tayo ng memo na ganito, etc., etc. So if you feel like you are part of the processes involved in the organization, ba may procedural justice. Pag hindi, it's the other way around. Hala, di na ako nakaramdam na may ganito pala. Ako ang HR, halimbawa, I am the HR supervisor in charge with training. Tapos biglang may memo, may pa-training yung boss ko, hindi ko na nalaman. So, hindi ka part ng decision making, hindi ka part ng procedure, walang justice doon. Walang procedural justice. Interactional justice naman, two things, interpersonal or informational. Interpersonal, edi yung relationship ng manager at ng employee. Good ba? Caring ba si manager? Halimbawa, COVID-19, may pandemic, inaalaw ka ba ni manager to work from home or very very task-oriented na kailangan matapos to kahit pandemic, papasok ka pa rin, mag-triple mask ka, mag-PPP ka, PPP nga ba yon? PPE ka para lang matapos yung work. Yung care, yung affection that you have to na binibigay ng manager, it has something to do with the interpersonal justice. Tao ka lang eh. So, kailangan makaramdam ka ng mga positive about the job or how you will finish the job from your manager or supervisor. Yung informational justice naman, the manager and employees communication. So, may time ba na you are asked by your manager, how are you? How are you doing? The feedback to your work or to your performance. Pag wala, edi walang justice. Kasi walang open communication between you and the company manager or supervisor. So maganda, if there's an organization, a good organizational justice in a company, because it will influence the satisfaction, fairness inside the company in terms of emotions, the process, the involvement, the relationship, communications, etc. Then other factors that influence job satisfaction, chance for growth and challenge. Minsan, may trabaho ka and then nilipat ka sa ibang trabaho na iba na yung trabaho, iba na yung line of work, job rotation yon. Ito ay very common pag mga clerical positions sa companies, no? Yung una, secretary ka ni president. Tapos later on, magiging secretary ka na ni vice president. So may job rotation na tinatawag. Merong pagbabago ng working environment at saka boss. Job enlargement naman, as the name implies, there are additional characteristics dun sa job mo, sa task mo. Kung dati, your only work is to interview, then afterwards, tapos na, ibibigay mo na yung result ng interview kung kanino man nagagawa ng report. Nung nagkaroon ng job enlargement, ikaw na rin ang gumagawa ng report of the interview or ng assessment na ginawa mo sa empleyado. Job enlargement yon. Ang job enrichment is that it is somehow relative to enlargement. Pag nagbago ka kasi ng trabaho, meron kang dinagdag sa trabaho ng isang tao, make sure that you also add motivating factors for the person who will have that job enlargement to accomplish his or her job. So, hindi lang dapat matatapos dun sa dinagdagan mo siya ng trabaho. Dapat may motivating factor din. Bibigyan mo siya ng training, bibigyan mo siya ng coaching para doon sa bagong trabaho na binigay mo sa kanya. And of course, self-directed teams or quality circles. Job is not just about you alone. You may work with others. You may work with co-employees. Yun bang work mo allows you to be a leader, allows you to work with others or alone, it affects your satisfaction. Yung tipong, ba't ganun? They are working in a group. Ako, I have to do this all by myself. It will affect your performance and eventually your attitude towards work. At the same time, pwede rin naman na ba't ganun lagi akong sinasama sa iba? Pwedeng yung tao makaramdam na, hindi ko ba nagagawa yung trabaho ko? Lagi ako may assistant, lagi ako merong supervisor to do or to monitor the tasks that I have. So it may have an influence also on your satisfaction. And then how can we increase job satisfaction? We may hire satisfied employees. From the beginning, as HR personnel, ang i-hire mo na yung mukhang satisfied. Sa tingin mo, satisfied naman sa buhay niya, no? Huwag ka na mag-hire ng dissatisfied employees. Eliminate dissatisfiers. Ano yung mga dissatisfiers natin? Mga mababang sweldo, too much load, overloaded na yung empleyado. Ano pa ba ang dissatisfiers? Yung mga working beyond hours, pwede mong i-eliminate yan. Express appreciation and provide proper feedback. It's very essential for us to appreciate things, appreciate the job of others. You know, yesterday, when you had your talent portion in Gen Ed 1, natuwa ako kay Sir Riel kasi ina-appreciate niya regardless kung ano man ang performance nyo. Kung performance nyo ay kung ano man ang ginawa ninyo kahapon, ay in-appreciate niya yung inyong ginagawa, which is good. Kasi nakaka-increase yon ng motivation, ng satisfaction sa trabaho, kung trabaho man yon, di ba? Na meron kang, ay, ang ganda naman. Yung worth ko dun sa trabaho ay na-appreciate. Increase opportunities to socialize. It may also increase satisfaction. Hindi lang ikaw nag-iisa. Others may help you. Others are also experiencing difficulties on your job, lalo na nung pandemic. Online, tawag dito, skeletal force system. So, bagya kayo nakikita ng mga co-employees mo. Pero, if you are an HR personnel or a supervisor, and then you make sure na pwede ka pa rin makipag-socialize, you have others to help you out with your tasks and responsibilities. We're still a team. It may influence satisfaction. Hold special events and friendly competitions. Increase humor also. Wag naman laging seryoso. Of course, work is work. Ako minsan, natutuwa ako sa mga working student, parang umiikot ang buhay sa trabaho. Hindi ko naman maaalis yon sa nagtatrabaho. Pero ako, as someone na working din naman, you have to at least take life easy. Huwag yung napakaseryoso sa trabaho. And also your employers and soon that you will become HR personnel, huwag naman sobrang task-oriented. Meron din tayong emotions involved dun sa tao. So let us also consider the emotions of people working in the company. Have surprises. Ano ba mga example ng surprises? Birthday, batiin mo siya. May ginawa siyang maganda, nakapag-accomplish siya ng isang bagay. Aside from praises, pinadalhan mo siya ng cupcakes. Diba? It will give satisfaction. Appreciate ako. May worth ako sa trabaho ko. Or pinromote mo siya. Surprisingly, pinromote mo yung tao. It will increase satisfaction. Assign the right task to the right people. I watched a documentary, I forgot the title. Nagkakaroon siya ng conflict sa boss niya kasi yung binibigay sa kanyang trabaho is hindi para sa kanya. Yun pala trabaho nung boss, pinapagawa sa kanya. And then nagagalit yung boss pag hindi niya nagagawa ng tama. It's because he is not the right person to perform the job. So, ano nangyari? Nag-quit siya dun sa job kasi hindi na siya satisfied eh. Hindi na nakikita yung sarili niyang magtagal dun sa company. There are also measurements of job satisfaction, many, though I will not focus on the discussion of this. Probably it may be your assignment. You may search for these tools, inventories that measures job satisfaction. Overall job satisfaction, job descriptive index, Minnesota satisfaction questionnaire. How about commitment? So aside from satisfaction, another organizational attitude is organizational commitment. But before that, can I see the raising of hands? If you're still with me, ayan. Isa lang ang nag-raise ng hand. Yung iba kaya? Can I hear the raising of hands? See the raising of hands of others kung nandito pa? Okay. So sa organizational commitment, para siyang twin sister or brother ni satisfaction. Kasi if you are satisfied, if you have positive attitudes towards your job, technically, you will be willing to stay in the company. You are committed in the company. Para rin sa pag-ibig, ano? Pag satisfied ka dun sa boyfriend mo, sa girlfriend mo, sa asawa mo, edi committed ka. I remember personal to, I'm in a relationship and I actually asked my partner, if love is gone, will you stay? Yun yung tanong ko sa kanya. Kasi ako ay medyo futuristic ako. Kasi alam ko love is fading. Nawawala ang pag-ibig eh. Sabi ko, if the love is gone, will you stay? Medyo natuwa ako dun sa sagot niya. Kasi sagot niya, if love is gone, I will still be committed. Because that is just a feeling. Kasi daw, ang sabi niya, nga ba? Paano ko ba sasabihin yun? Kinilig. Teka. Nawala ako. Kasi, ang pag-ibig nawawala. Sige, feeling yon. Pero the fact that you are part of a relationship, of a relationship, you are already committed. You are already there. So, kumbaga, ang kanyang answer is, nasa isip ko na siya. Hindi lang siya nasa puso. Nasa isip ko na siya that will be forever. Will be for the rest of our lives. That I will be committed to you. Diba? Maganda ganun din yun sa company, you know? It's not just you're happy. Nawawala kasi yung happiness eh. Sa una, pwedeng ningas kogon. Pagka-graduate mo, yay, ang saya-saya, may trabaho ako, excited ka. Pero habang tumatagal, nababago kasi yung feeling. Nababago kasi yung tingin mo dun sa company. So, lalabas na dyan yung commitment. So, how long are you willing to stay in the company? Parang ganon, ano? But they are partners, of course. It has something to do with the higher the job satisfaction, the higher the organizational commitment. And these are the tools that we can use for commitment. Ang pinaka-popular, I use this on my study, my MA study, yung kay Allen and Meyer. Yun nga, 3 daw siya. Affective, normative, continuance. Pag affective, parang related siya dun sa meaning ng satisfaction, yung affection mo dun sa company. May nafe-feel ka ba na positive dun sa company mo, kaya ka nagsistay. So, it's more of the emotion focus. Pag naman continuance, yung reason mo for being part of the company or to stay in a company is that wala akong ibang pupuntahan eh. Ayokong mawalan. I have this fear of losing this job. So, I have to stay. Pag normative naman, regardless kung may mapupuntahan ka or may tatanggap pa sa'yo na organization, you are willing to stay because there is a need for you to stay. The company needs you. Think that the company needs you. That's why you will stay for the company. Ngayon. So, these are other organizational commitment scales or questionnaires, organizational commitment scale. You may find that in the Google for your assignment. And then these work attitudes, job satisfaction, and organizational commitment have consequences. Absenteeism, turnover, yun nga, counterproductive work behavior, and organizational citizenship behavior. So pag maganda yung ating tingin sa trabaho natin, we are committed dun sa trabaho natin, syempre yung absenteeism mababa. Yung turnover, we don't need to employ, re-employ again employees kasi nagsistay sila. Their willingness to stay in the company is there. Counterproductive, yun nga yung mga bagay na hindi naman nakakatulong para ma-meet yung objectives, yung goals ng company, nalilesen. And tumataas yung organizational citizenship behavior because you are really putting yourself on the organization as part of it, as someone who has contribution to the company. So, beyond your work, beyond your tasks, ginagawa mo for the company. Not just for yourself, for promotion, but for the company. So, these are some reasons why employees are absent. No consequences for attending or missing work. So, bilang personnel pala, HR personnel, dapat malinaw sa empleyado. No? Pag absent ka, di bawas sweldo. Tignan natin kung may mag-a-absent pa. No work, no pay. So, syempre, walang absent kasi wala siyang kikitain. Illness and personal problems, kaya nga may mga medical records. As an HR personnel, you have to be cautious of that. Syempre, meron tayong mga company doctors. Hindi naman sa you don't trust the employee, but you have to ensure na meron talagang sakit. Kaya absent. Individual differences. So, hindi lang feel na magtrabaho. There are times that you don't feel like being productive. So, hindi ka pumapasok. Kahapon, meron akong client na faculty ng Gentry. Sabi niya, ma'am, I have to have social detox because I am not feeling well. Sabi ko, why? Physically, you're not feeling well? Sabi niya, no, ma'am. I don't want to work. I am not in a mood to work. Sabi ko, bakit? So, meron siya mga reasons. I will not mention it anymore. But sabi ko sa kanya, okay lang yan. At least rest. But don't forget your students because your students are your clients and they are important also. Kung hindi ka man mag-class, edi just give them readings, asynchronous class. Sabi niya, yes ma'am, nabigay ko naman po. Pero I have to detox, I have to close my messenger or Facebook, I have to deactivate and focus more of myself. Sabi ko, sige, go ahead. But if you need someone to talk to, edi you talk to me, you talk to other people. So bakit absent? Kasi nasa sarili niya. Merong problema sa sarili niya na gusto niyang i-express, kailangan niya ng time to heal and to eventually to find the reasons bakit hindi siya productive or bakit ayaw niyang mag-work. Then unique events, birthday mo, anniversary, may nangyari, o di you tend to absent yourself from work. How can we increase attendance? Excuse me. By having consequences for missing work, give rewards, the context of reinforcement. Syempre, kapag nire-rewardan mo isang tao, they are more active or eager to perform things. Yung mga financial incentives, paid time off programs, recognition programs, discipline for not attending. Alala ko yung ating review session, magre-resume na tayo by November. Kapag hindi kayo naka-attend, you have to explain yourself in writing. Napakaraming explanation ako nare-receive sa email. The question is, totoo kaya yon or ano kaya yon? Inexplain lang talaga niya dahil natakot siya or whatsoever. Clear policy and record keeping also may increase attendance. What else? You have to increase attendance by reducing employee stress. You have to make sure that the employees are not stressed of their work or anything. So, paano yon? Kasi baka kaya hindi siya pumapasok. Stress siya sa trabaho niya. Bakit? Overload, may conflicts appear sa supervisors, bored na. Ito mahirap i-solve on my end, on my experience. Pinakamahirap i-solve yung boredom, yung monotonous na kasi yung trabaho ng empleyado, kaya hindi na siya napasok, hindi niya na nakikita yung growth niya sa company. Ang hirap nitong i-solve. So, paano natin yun i-solve? Paano natin siya iwasan? Do not give monotonous work to the employee. Magkaroon din naman ng change of setup, change of work environments, yung mga job rotation, job enlargement, job enrichment, pwede yang gawin. And of course, safety issues. It may be reason why bakit ang empleyado ay stress at pwede nating gawan ng paraan to increase their attendance. Masyadong malamig dun sa company. May mga empleyado na hindi sanay sa sobrang lamig o kaya ay dun pa siya nakapwesto sa malapit sa aircon. Di tanggalin mo siya doon para safe siya, sound siya. At the same time, yung naririnig yung tiktak nung orasan. Ako kapag I'm having a hard time, let's say, kailangan kong i-meet tong mga bagay na to, pero hindi ko ma-meet kasi because of the context ng time, hindi ako tumitingin sa orasan para hindi ako ma-pressure, hindi ako ma-stress. Bahala kayo dyan. So, nai-increase yung performance ko. So, you may have that also to your employee. What else? Reducing illness, not hiring absence-prone employees. unique events, yung mga shuttle services, remote work. Ayan. These are ways on how we can increase the attendance. Reducing illness, lalo na ngayon, pandemic, we have to make sure na may proper precautionary measures pag pupunta sa company or sa organization. So, natatakot pa lang pumasok kasi baka magka-COVID, baka magkaroon ng virus. So, what will you do then? Dapat may mga interventions. And then, mas maganda during the assessment of the personality, high yung conscientiousness at low yung extroversion ng tao para hindi siya absent prone na empleyado. And then, yung mga pinoprovide na mga shuttle services, work from home setup, it may increase attendance. So, why do employees leave? There are unavoidable reasons. Marami yan. Minsan ilalagay sa resignation letter ay resign because of unavoidable reasons. It would be better to ask, what is that unavoidable reasons? Merong illness, may family issue, or advancement. More responsibility, better pay, sa ibang company, kaya ka iniwan. Unmet needs. Dati, na-enjoy niya pa yung trabaho kasi okay yung sahod, okay yung co-worker. Ngayon, hindi na, nag-iba na. Hindi na nami-meet yung needs ko as a person. So, umaalis. Or escape from people, working conditions, and stress. Isa sa mahirap is the escape from people. Kasi the persons inside the company are part of the company. So, wala kang choice but to work with them. They are part of the company too. So, how will you motivate a person na wag mag-leave? Hindi naman pwedeng i-terminate yung tao. Naka-attend ako ng deliberation, may isang empleyado na siya yung source ng stress. Siya yung stressor ng mga co-employees. So, ang suggestion nung mga gustong umalis, marami sila. Sabi, tanggalin yung si stressor. Kaya lang sabi ng boss, I admire the boss kasi sabi niya, give me 1 month to talk to the person, to the stressor, and let us try to see kung ma-change yung person na yon. Huwag natin siya agad i-terminate. Kasi kapag terminate natin siya, parang we tend to be biased to the person. Kahit na sabihing 100:1 yung laban, 1 yung nirereklamo, 100 yung nagrereklamo, we still need to give the benefit of the doubt to the person and give chance to the person. So yun, nag-agree sila na sige, bigyan natin ng 1 month, baka naman magbago si stressor. And then the unmet expectations of the organization, job, and career. You don't see yourself as if a worthy employee, someone who meets the tasks and responsibilities of the job, kaya umaalis ka sa trabaho. So how can you know and the reasons of employees leaving? Through the exit interviews, attitude surveys, and salary surveys. Of course, the salary surveys can be performed when the employees are still in the company. Maiwasan na yung pag-alis ng mga empleyado sa trabaho. Pwede kang magpa-salary survey. Sapat pa yung kinikita ng empleyado sa company nyo, or may nakikita siyang ibang company that can provide more for his or her needs. Attitude surveys also may be done. Ito yung interests niya, ito yung kanyang mga likes and dislikes. Yun ba yung trabaho na ginagawa niya sa company? Baka hindi yon. And then exit interviews, very important. Of course, when the employee is leaving, you have to have feedback. Bakit siya aalis? So regardless kung yun man ay personal, professional, you should know the reasons why the employees are leaving. Then the cause of turnover, yun nga yung come and go ng employee, kaya iniiwasan natin na yung mga empleyado ay ma-dissatisfied at mawala yung commitment sa trabaho because the turnover is costly. Yung mag-hire ka ulit ng bagong empleyado, and then hahanap ka ulit ng bago, magbibigay ka ng separation pay dun sa taong aalis, it's very costly. These are other costs that are included in the turnover, advertising charges, agency fees, referral bonuses, staff time and benefits, kasi mag-hire ka ulit ng bago. Overheard, yun yung mga finances sa company na hindi mo namamalayan pero part talaga siya ng company. Let's say, mga supplies. So, kahit anong gawin mo, hindi ka pwedeng mag-run ng company ng walang supplies, walang salary, walang contingency funds. Ayan. Travel costs, relocation costs, and miscellaneous costs. So, to avoid fast turnover of companies, of course, we have also to increase the satisfaction and commitment of our employees. Another reasons or strategies on how we can reduce turnover, compensation issues, match the market, compare your salary to your employees to the other companies, use job evaluation, offer retention, and tenure. Tenure meaning yung uh, stability nila dun sa company that they are staying or what. Tenure ay yung regularization. So, tignan mo yon, i-offer mo para magstay ka sa company para hindi mo kami iwan, irregular kita. So, stay for the company. Then, selection issues, conduct realistic job previews, look for person, organization fit, study predictors of people who leave. Kaya, the HR personnel plays a vital role. Kasi, sa umpisa pa lang, sa pagpasok nung empleyado sa company, dapat alam mo na, magtatagal kaya siya. Kasi, you are selecting the best among the rest, at the same time, somebody who will be there for the company, who is there to meet the goals of the company. Then organizational issues, you may provide training, show appreciation, mediate conflicts, avoid having sides as a personnel, no? Dito ako, pro ganito ako. No, you should be neutral to avoid high turnover. Meet employee needs, the safety, social, and growth. And then strategic use of benefits to attract and retain employees. You have to provide healthcare, daycare benefits. Yung mga anak noong empleyado, meron ding benefit. Actually, yung CVSU, meron tayong, sa main campus, merong elementary school. Iyon ay na-formulate because yung mga empleyado ng CVSU ay parents din. So, para daw yung mga empleyado ng CVSU ay ma-motivate na magstay sa CVSU, mag-work properly, yung mga bata, yung mga anak nila, why not dito na lang din turuan sa CVSU? Nasa loob sila ng isang vicinity. So, it will attract applicants. Wala na akong problema sa anak ko kasi makikita ko siya dahil nandito lang kami sa isang setting or local. Meal benefits, paid time off, flexible schedules, tuition, books, ayan. So you may provide that to attract, retain employees. Okay? And then productive and counterproductive workplace behaviors. Sana the target is to increase OCBs, to decrease counterproductive antisocial workplace behavior, and at the same time, yung workplace violence. As an HR personnel, it's your responsibility to ensure that there's no such thing as violence inside the company. Maganda na yung mga empleyado, they are working as they are expected of them. They are working beyond the expectations of them. They are avoiding the antisocial, the unnecessary behaviors like tardiness, absenteeism, the source of stress ng other coworkers. At the same time, yung violence, ma-minimize or mawala totally so that your company, the working environment is good. Organizational citizenship behavior, the contributions that employee make to the overall welfare of the organization that go above and beyond the required job duty. So I was able to mention this already. Yung mga ginagawa ng empleyado, hindi naman required pero ginagawa for the betterment of the company. That is good. You may do measures on how to increase organizational citizenship behavior. And then counterproductive workplace behaviors, these are samples of it. Yung mga bagay na hindi naman makakatulong para sa company pero nagagawa ng mga empleyado. Bakit kaya nila ginagawa? Let's say, bullying. Bakit binubully yung isang empleyado? Bakit may deviance? Merong mga bagay na ginagawa na wala naman sa norms, wala naman sa rules ng company. Tapos may undermining, very particular yung ginagawan mo nun. Halimbawa, yung boss, sinesenda niya ng mga malicious words or communication yung empleyado. Bakit kaya? So we have to avoid, lessen the counterproductive workplace behaviors to promote satisfaction and commitment. And of course, the violence in the workplace, either physical, violence can be physical or psychological, hindi ba? And maaring mas malaki yung effect kapag psychological, yung violence na napopromote sa workplace. Harassed na siya or psychological, too much expectations of the boss lead to psychological violence na nasa bahay na si empleyado, naiisip niya pa rin yung boss niya, na dumidikta sa kanya, dapat gawin mo to, etc. etc. So as an HR personnel, you play a vital role. Sooner or later, you will play a vital role to avoid these things that will lessen, decrease the work attitudes, good work attitudes of personnel. Are you still with me? Can I navigate and go to our Google Class? Okay, so nakataas sa mga kamay. Can I request you to open your camera? I will stop the presentation, but let us have a short parang physical activity. Ayan, so nakita ko si Sarji, nakita ko ang kanyang talent kahapon. At saka si Elaine, nakita ko rin siya kahapon. Meron akong pinuri kahapon, nasan ba si Steven? Steven? Ayan. At saka si Kenerick, hindi ko inaakala na ganun pala magsayaw si Kenerick kahapon, ano. Si Cha ay alam ko na medyo align siya with the poetry and stuff. Maraming magagaling kumanta kahapon. Si Hoya, sino pa ba ang aking narinig? Si Mark Shilin, si Jesselyn kasi medyo ina-expect ko na na very good yung performance niya. Medyo naiyak ako sa performance ni Jesselyn kasi talagang pinaghandaan niya talaga yung performance. Di ba, Jesselyn? Proud na proud ako sa'yo kahapon kahit na hindi ka proud sa sarili mo. And then, ayan, di ba, si Sherlyn. Ako rin si Sherlyn kahapon na ginawa ni Sherlyn. Sumayaw ba si Sherlyn? Nakita ko siya na medyo kita pa ata yung pusod ni Sherlyn. Sana na-apply din yun sa thesis, Sherlyn. Active ka dun. Sana sa thesis din, na-approve na, nahihikayat natin yung ating mga panel. Anyway, ayan. Can I see your faces? Are you still with me? So let us have a short physical exercise para naman before we proceed with the next topic, you are alive. So what I would like you to do is to provide me the things that I will say. This is an online version of Bring Me. I will say a thing or an object, and then you show me kung meron man dyan sa paligid ninyo. Of course, the winners will have prizes. Later, we'll talk about the prize. Ayan. Mali nyo, ang prize ay exempted sa multiple choice exam na midterm. Wala naman tayong multiple choice na midterm, di ba? Okay, sige. Are you ready? Let us have a short, a virtual Bring Me session with the BSP4. Bring me a flower. Any kind of flower. Sino kaya ang mauna? Ayan, nakikita ko si Lester, pandalas, paglabas. Ayan, sige, ayan. Sabi na So, sino ang mga si Mark Shilin, si Lester, si Olin, si Elaine. Sabi ko, regardless, di ba? Whether kung ano man siya, si Krisha, si Aubrey, si Jovi. Nawala na si Jovi, pinakita niya na lang yung bulaklak. Sige. Ayan, very good. Wow. Si Jesselyn with my matching smile. Si Jesselyn talaga ang aking happy pile. Kasi siya lang yung alam kong estudyante na nakakapagbasa ng 2 libro at the same time. Diba? Doon sa promotional video nyo. Okay. Ayan, ang dami sabay-sabay na nakapagdala ng bulaklak. Ayan. So, next. Bring me. Nawala na si John Lloyd. Kumuha na ata ng paso para talagang makapagbigay. Bring me paper bag. Ayun, si Sargi, talagang pandala siya. Parang 1 million yung pinaglalabanan natin. Talagang the energy. Yan. Si Justin, ano ba itong paper bag niya? Jollibee, bida ang saya. Ito namang si Sargi, Mercury Drug. So, maganda yan, no? Para sa safety. Ito si John Lloyd. Anong pineflex ni John Lloyd na paper bag? Ayan pa, City of Dreams. Ako si Olin, pinapakita lang na nakapunta ng City of Dreams. Sige. Si Pahuriray, abay nakapag-SM. Sige. Si Aubrey, Oxygen. Yeah. Si Mami, hindi lang paper bag. May laman ang paper bag. Di ba? Okay. How about another? Thank you. Mary Elaine also. How about Sherlyn, wag kang malungkot. Mamaya pasasayawin kita para sumaya naman ang klase. How about bring me mirror? Ayan. Si Mark Chilin ang una kong nakitang may dala. Siguro habang nagkaklase, tinitignan niya yung itsura niya. Talaga. Ayan, si John Lloyd also. Of course, si Sargi. Ayan, si Olin, pink, green. Si Steven, parang yung kay Steven, may tatsulok pa, no? Parang kakatakot. Parang may kulto atang lalabas dito sa patatsulok ni Steven. Jesseline, si Aubrey also. How about yung iba? Hindi nagpa-participate. Ayan, baka malapit lang sa kanya yung bagay. Okay, ayan, heart, si Mommy, heart ang kanyang Cellphone naman ang pinapakita ni Julian. Olin, si Jerlyn din. Pinapakita niya yung salamin. Oo nga naman. Wow, galing husay. Pati si Stella, very competitive. Salamin ba? Etong salamin. Ayan. Okay. Si Cha ay may salamin sa likod. Di ba? Okay. How about bring me glass, baso. Si Olin, agad-agad may baso na inom. Ayan, si Elaine, mason jar. Si Jesseline, may tatak pa yung baso. Bagang bili. Si Sargi, meron ding baso. Si Sherlyn, pareho pa kami ng baso ni Sherlyn. How about yung iba? Si Mommy, ayan. Si Jovi, okay. Si Lester, si John Lloyd, ayan. Everyone, Justin. Ang social ng kay Obring baso pang halo-halo. Parang mamaya gusto kong maghalo-halo. Okay, again, another. Of course, si Stella, ayaw niyang bitawan ng baso kasi hindi ko pa siya na-mention. Stella, na-mention na kita. How about bring me 2 more things and then we can proceed with the discussion. Bring me 100 peso bill. Si John Lloyd, wala. Parang gumanyan kayo, di ba? Si John Lloyd, ako lang to. Di ba? Si Lester, ako lang to. Si Mark Chilin, si Krisha, si Jesseline.
Wala po
Yes,
100,
Steven.
Bob. 1K lang.
Oo. Ay,
Charot,
iba pala, no? Dapat pala ay, sabi ni Jovi, walang pera. Yung iba ay mabilis, ano? At least, dadating na naman ang inyong mga scholarship at sa mga educational assistance ninyo, kaya magkakaroon na rin kayo ng pera. Hintay-hintay lang, ano? Since pay is an important, baka bukas, malay mo, di ba? Election ngayon, kaya dapat ay mag-antay tayo ng marami. Nakaka-excite. Okay, one more thing. Medyo mahirap-hirap talaga dapat yung binibigay ko. Ayun, give me or bring me photo album. Uso pa ba ang photo album? Ayan, si Steven. May photo album siya. Sino kaya ang mga nakalagay sa photo album niya? Teka. Si Cha, nagbukas pa ng box. Ayan, ang cute. Ang cute ng mga photo album. Olin, pinakita pa yung si Audrey, ang galing. Si Stella, na Stella. Ayan, cute ng ang cute ng photo album. Si Sherlyn, ang cute ng photo album. Jovi, si Mami naghahanap pa. Kailangan niyang maipakitang may photo album siya eh. Kaya nakikita kong naghahanap pa siya. How about yung iba? Hindi na ba uso sa inyo ang photo album? Yan si Jesseline. Jesseline, bida-bida. Di naman photo album niya iyon. Ayan. So see, you're able to give the things, ano, and in connection with our topic, these are wala siyang connect actually. Pero the things the things that we have may have an implication or an effect to our satisfaction and commitment. Ayan. Thank you. So this is 11:33. Bear with me again. Let us continue our organizational commitment. This time we'll have organizational commitment. Thank you. Sinong nanalo? Wala, sabay-sabay silang nanalo. So, lahat na lang exempted dun sa midterm exam na multiple choice. Yan. Yay! Exempted sila. Thank you for the participation. Nagpapalakpak na si Marceline. Can we have the organizational commitment? If you wish to eat your lunch, you may while listening to me. Ayan, organizational not commitment pala, organizational communication. So kanina, we have the work attitude such as job satisfaction and organizational commitment, which are essentials in the performance of employees. We also have organizational communication. Actually, kahit hindi ka part ng organization, merong communication. Kahit nga sa inyo a good group or a good team will be successful if there is a good communication. And let us try again our app, yung sa Slido. Sige, ipopost ko ulit sa chat box. Ang passcode is 230931. The question is, what makes an effective communication? So, can I have the app ulit? Okay, sorry. Okay, so I will copy and then I'll type navigate. Okay, ayan. The link is on our chat box. Can we see the answers? Ayan, may mga sumagot pa dito sa poll number 2. Ang poll number 3 natin that you need to answer, what makes an effective communication? So since our topic is organizational communication. Communication in the organization. Sa inyo, sa tingin ninyo, since we communicate naman as a human individual, as a person, we communicate to others. Actually, we cannot live without communication, ano? By saying our needs, expressing ourselves, we need to communicate. So what makes an effective communication? Sige, for a minute or two, let us wait for the answers. Ayan. So some of the answers, you listen to both sides and try to understand. Of course, it's a two-way process. Communication is a two-way process. Hindi one-sided, ano? Count politely, semi-lively. Ano kaya ibig sabihin ng semi-lively communication? If they understand each other and giving a proper response. First, we need to be a good listener to have an effective communication. You listen to both sides, try to understand it. Communication is always two ways. There should always be two sides of the story. Understanding the emotion and the intentions behind the information. O, comprehension. Effective communication, dapat daw may comprehension. Most of the time, we only speak to respond, but we did not comprehend what was being said. I agree. When both parties have clear understanding of what was communicated, exchanging information between the receiver at sino ang nagsasalita. Listen, understand each other. Having clear, concise message that makes an effective communication. What else? Some more answers. Only 12 answers answer the poll. Ano pa kaya ang effective communication? I agree with you. Communication is a two-way process. Therefore, we have to look at the two sides for it to be effective. We have to listen, we have to understand, we have to use appropriate words, we have to be clear, we have to be good in our communication, we have to address the problem, resolve it right away. Siguro may pinagdadaanan to, kasi may problem na siya na sinabi. What else? Sige, go. BSP4. We only have 14. How about the others? What are your answers? And of course, being a psych major, we have to be good listeners. Kayo ba, na-adapt nyo na ba yung pagiging good listeners? Tayo nga daw ay mas magaling makinig sabi. If a person can actually scrutinize or understand the emotions and feeling behind the message, can you know or can you identify the meaning behind the messages? Kung sarcastic ba siya, serious ba siya, joke ba siya? Yung free ka po mag-express ng feelings, thoughts, suggestions, at the same time, tumatanggap ka rin ng critic and advice from others. Good ito, understanding non-verbal cues, know when to talk, when to listen, true emotions ang ina-express. At the end of the communication, dapat may na-adapt na learning. Very futuristic ang approach. Communication is effective if they have a purpose and are open to listen and understand. Yes. Can I see 2 more answers before we navigate to the presentation? What makes an effective communication? Come on, 2 more from the class. We have 19 students who answered the poll. Or same lang ba yung sagot ninyo sa mga kaklase ninyo? So it's a two-way process. We have to listen. We have to learn something from the communication. They should have purpose. You should be willing to listen, understand. You listen genuinely, absorb the things that you gain from the sender. You need to communicate well to understand what you are talking. Alam niyo what I've learned from communicating to different kinds of people? Kasi ako, kayo din naman siguro, nakapag-usap na kayo sa mga iba't ibang klase ng tao. May tao na malungkot habang kinakausap mo. Galit, gutom, masaya, malungkot, normal, abnormal. So nakapag-usap ka na sa kanila. What I've learned ay itong binanggit nitong huli, yung listen genuinely, absorb the things that the sender is giving you. Very good yun. Kasi what I've learned dati, pag nakikipag-communicate ako sa ibang tao, lalo na yung may face-to-face pa, may ginagawa ako, nakikipag-communicate sa akin. Halimbawa, may nagsasabi ng mga bagay-bagay sa akin, co-employee ko, co-worker ko, hinahayaan ko lang siya. Then may ginagawa akong iba. Though I can do multitasking, wala talaga yung iyong buong pagkatao dun sa kinakausap mo. And what I've learned is that it would be better to stop whatever you do when someone is talking, when someone is expressing his or her thoughts, para talagang full yung concentration mo sa kanya. And that will make an effective communication. Why? Because you will hear the person thoroughly, you can understand, you can see the non-verbal cues, and at the same time, you will let the person realize na nakikinig ka talaga sa kanya. Kasi dati ako multitask. Ngayon na-realize ko, oo nga itong tao na to will not express him or herself sa'yo kung wala siyang nakikita sa'yo or wala siyang ine-expect sa'yo. So kung siya, allots time to talk to you, to communicate to you, dapat you also allot time to listen. Communication is a two-way process. There is a speaker and there is a listener. If the listener is just plainly listening, yet not listening properly, and cannot absorb the things that the sender is telling or expressing, it will not be an effective communication. Okay. Wait lang . Okay, so let me present navigate and continue our discussion. So all your answers are correct. Give me a raise hand if you see the presentation. Ayan, still with me. That makes an effective communication. And you've mentioned that it's because these are the things that you experience. These are the things that you encountered when you communicate with other people. So there are types of organizational communication. So sa organization, syempre hindi natin maiiwasan that you will communicate. You have to express yourself. Yung paano mo ma-accomplish yung task mo if there is no communication. So the types include upward, downward, business, informal, and interpersonal. Let's have it one by one. Pag upward communication, from the manager pababa yung communication. Kaya nga upward eh. Upward communication. Simula dun sa upper management, pababa yung communication. And meron tayong tinatawag na mom effect. Yung mom effect, when we communicate to others, yes, someone wants to share. Meron akong naririnig. Okay, wala naman. So yung mom effect ay, di ba when we communicate, sinasala natin yung ating kino-communicate. Sinasala natin yung mga bagay na ine-express natin. Yung mga negative, iniiwasan natin yan. Why do we avoid the negative? It's because we don't want others to get offended. We don't want others to feel bad. So sa kapag upward yung communication kasi from managers to the down, minsan yung manager, meron siyang sinasala, fini-filter na information or words na sasabihin niya doon sa kanyang mga subordinates o sa mga rank and file employee. Kasi yun nga, may mga reasons or there is really a purpose or need to hide some things para hindi na intention na malaman noong mga nasa baba or nasa rank and file position. Pag sinabing open door policy, it means the manager is open to any employee. I remember nung si Sir Sedigo pa yung empleyado, 'di ba sabi niya ay yung mga estudyante can talk to him or her, express kung ano man yung problems directly. Direkta sa kanya. Sabi nga niya, wala nang dep chair, wala nang unit head, wala nang teacher. Diretso sa kanya. Open door policy yon. Kasi direct, you can express yourself to the manager, the supervisor. You can also have the upward communication through attitude surveys, focus groups, exit interviews, suggestion boxes, or the third-party facilitators. Basta pag sinabi nating upward communication, yung direction ng communication natin sa company is from the manager down to the lower employees or the manager to the employees. Parang baliktad ata yung sinasabi ko. Meron bang gustong magsabi? Wait lang. Kasi may naririnig ako na natunog. Wait lang. Baliktad nga yung sinasabi ko. So, pag sinabi nating upward, sorry, nalito ako. Pag upward, from lower to the manager. Siguro kaya medyo hindi, parang may naririnig kasi ako, siguro may gustong mag-share. Pag sinabi nating upward communication, it is the process wherein the lower level company employees directly communicate to the manager. Ayan, teka ha, let us navigate. Sorry for that. Again, balik tayo sa upward communication. When the lower employees tend to directly communicate to the sa upward, sa manager. So, paano natin yun magagawa? Through this. Yun nga, serial communication, attitude survey, focus groups, exit interview, suggestion boxes, third-party facilitators. Kumbaga, wala nang mediator. Wala nang tao that would hinder you from communicating to the upper management. So, simula lower, pataas, upward communication. Yung kabaliktaran niya is yung downward. This time, yung managers naman, yung may gustong sabihin doon sa mga empleyado. So, from up to down. How can the manager communicate? Through bulletin boards, policy manuals, newsletters, or news intranets. Intranets which are very common nowadays kasi tayo ay online usually yung platform of work. Meron pa ring mga companies na hindi na balik dun sa face-to-face interaction. So dito naman, the managers communicate, let's say, the policies or the things that the employee should do through these things. Bulletin boards, yun nga, policy manuals, etc. Kaya itong mga bagay na to, very important in a company kasi hindi naman most of the time the manager can speak to the employees. Hindi most of the time the managers have the time to know the sentiments, the experience of the employees. So kailangan na mayroong mga part of the organization na makikita doon yung gustong ibahagi or gustong sabihin ng managers or ng upper management doon sa kanyang mga empleyado. Let's say memo, notice of the meeting. So makikita yon sa bulletin boards, sa mga posting sa company, etc. Newsletters, ayan. Of course, the policies you may read as an employee dun sa mga handbook, sa mga manuals. So in one way or another, it's not verbal, but you're able to communicate to people inside the organization. So ulitin ko lang ha, I got confused. Pag sinabing upward, it's the communication is from the lower member of the organization pataas. Okay? So paano magagawa? Through ditong mga techniques na to. Actually, sa school, meron tayong suggestion box eh. Kung may gusto kang sabihin kay dean o sa mga tao doon, ilagay mo lang doon yung iyong gustong sabihin. Kapag naman downward, from manager, pababa. Pag business communication, this involves the memos, detailed info to large number of people, telephone calls, only when messages short, conference calls. Ayan. So yung mga business communication, dapat aware tayo dito. Dapat marunong tayong gumawa ng memo. Memo or a notice, parang not a policy, but an order to an employee of an organization. Very common ito na ginagawa ng mga secretary, etc. Merong nagtataas ng kamay. Let me navigate. Yes, Mark Celine, you raise your hand.
Ma'am, sorry po. Wala pong PPT ako na nakikita.
Wala kang PPT na nakikita? Bakit kaya? Wait lang. How about this one? May nakikita na kayo?
Meron na po, ma'am. Thank you po.
Kailan nawala ng presentation? Kanina pa?
Nung po, ma'am, inulit niyo po yung sa upward tsaka downward.
Sorry. Yan, nawala kasi ako. Sorry. So, upward and downward communication. So, business communication na tayo. So, there are business communication things that there are things in the organization na kailangan nating alam gawin. Like yung nga, memo, a notice of a meeting, a notice of something. Usually, ginagawa ng secretary, or ng personnel mismo, HR personnel. Let's say, you have, let's say, a meeting, a requested meeting to all the employees of a certain unit. So, you can prepare a memo and then you have it signed or you have it read by your supervisor. Yung telephone calls kasi is done only if the message is short and at the same time, pag telephone calls, yung business communication, the disadvantage is that you cannot record. You can record, but not most of the time. At the same time, mahirap kasi wala kang black and white. Sa organization kasi, very important yung black and white document, yung meron ka talagang nakita na document na proof that you are communicating, you are saying these things, you have this policy or notice, etc. So how can you also have business communication? Through emails, voicemails, business meetings, at saka yung mga office designs. Meron ako dito later ng mga sample of the office designs na nakaka-affect or influence sa communication. In the email, take note of this, very important. As you graduate, you will become a personnel, an employee, dapat may etiquette ka sa pag-email. So you have to include a greeting, included a detailed subject line. Don't write in all caps kasi ang connotation is that you are angry. You're expressing intense emotion. Pag all caps, hindi mo alam, no? Pero of course, it depends on the person who send the email. Yun lang yung connotations. Yun lang yung interpretation. So, for it to be formal, it would be better not to write in all caps. Delete unnecessary information when forwarding an email. Yung mga emoticons, hindi tayo nagsasend ng ganyan, lalo na sa organization. Formal ang ating communication. Avoid grammar and spelling mistakes. Lalo na sa email, you cannot, pwede ba nating unsend ang email? Hindi, di ba? Sa messenger, pwede. Minsan, napapansin niyo pag nagsasend ako sa inyo ng message, binubura ko. Kasi may times na nakikita ko, ay mali yung grammar ko, mali yung spelling ko. So, in an organization, lalo na, you are dealing with co-workers, co-professionals, and at the same time, boss, kailangan you avoid grammar and spelling mistakes to also to give good impressions. Don't spend company time on personal email. Yung inyo ba mga emails? Kasi halimbawa, i-assume natin na kayo ay personnel, empleyado. Di ba meron kayong CVSU email? Ginagamit nyo lang ba yan for CVSU purposes? Ginagamit nyo lang ba yan for your academics? O may ibang bagay pa? So, dapat hindi, no? Kasi yan ay email set or given to you by CVSU. So, dapat pang CVSU purpose nyo siya ginagamit. Allow ample time for a person to respond. In an organization, yun nga, be willing to wait. You wait for the response. Hindi yung kasi send mo pa lang, gusto mo agad, ay magre-reply agad. Naiinis ako sa ganyan. Pag ganyan, super follow-up, naku, hindi ko lalo sinasagot. Kasi etiquette yun. There are reasons why a person cannot respond to you. Baka may ginagawa, natutulog, or busy pa. So, wait for the response. Kailan ka lang pwedeng mag-follow up? Let's say 1 week na. Ayan si Sherlyn, lagi yan nagpa-follow up sa akin kasi yung paper nila matagal na sa akin. 1 week, pwede ka na sigurong mag-follow up. Pero yung kabibigay mo lang kanina, umaga, follow up ka na agad ng hapon. At least give time to the person for the response. Especially in an organization. It's part of an email etiquette. Kasi you are using email, you cannot see the person personally, hindi mo alam kung ano yung emotions niya, hindi mo alam kung ano yung mga cues niya during the communication. So, dapat you have to be very careful and yun nga, follow this etiquette. Pag naman voicemail etiquette, speak slowly. Give your name at the beginning of the message and then repeat it at the end. Spell your name, leave your phone number, indicate good times for the person to return your call. Don't ramble and don't include information you don't want others to hear. Kasi hindi mo alam, baka ang magbukas ng voicemail ay hindi yung tao na sinendan mo at ibang tao. So you have to do these things. Ito naman, wala kang black and white. Your means of communication is verbal, voice. So you have to speak slowly. Something na maiintindihan noong iyong padadalhan ng mensahe. Ito kaya ay ginagawa pa rin to sa ngayon, lalo na kapag mga short yung messages sa within the organization. And then ito yung design na binanggit ko kanina, meron tayong ballpen work design, ito yon. Kita nyo wala siyang divider, no? Yung freestanding design, tikit-tikit, walang social distancing, free from workstation, ito yung uso ngayon. Merong barrier at saka yung uniform plan, pare-pareho kayo ng social, sana ganito yung mga work setup. Siguro, Kanina dun sa inyong poll, sabi nyo, work environment plays a vital role in the satisfaction and commitment. Pag ganito yung mga work setup, ang sayang magtrabaho. Hindi ba? So ito, nakaka-influence din ito dun sa the way we communicate within the organization. Yung mga office designs natin. Ayan. So it may decrease satisfaction, increase socialization, decrease cost. Of course, kung titignan natin, yung mga walang harang, hindi mataas ang level ng socialization yan. Kasi kaya mong makipag-usap doon sa iyong mga katabi. Ito, kaya ang uso ngayon ay ganito. It's for organizational communication. You can perform your tasks properly without exerting too much time communicating and talking to your seatmates or to your office mates. Totoo naman yan eh. Tao ka lang eh, di ba? Let's say you're doing your job and then may rest ka, halimbawa, you talk to your subordinates or your coworkers, there are times nakakalimot yung mga employees. So, nakaisip sila ng intervention. Takpan nga natin para merong barrier, kumbaga. Of course, hindi naman nililimit yung pakikipag-usap within an organization. Hindi naman pinagbabawalan rather. Pero at least nalilimit through this. And according to research, pag ganito, yung work design, edi mas mataas yung productivity level, at saka yung performance rate kasi concentrated ka sa work mo. Ngayong virtual, usually yung work, it depends, the person who's working. But according to the research that I've read, much productive yung mga tao kasi they are working on their own phase, and then wala silang kasama sa bahay, kundi silang sarili nila, pets nila, family nila, they can work. But also, there are some answers na iba rin kapag nasa loob ka ng company. Okay. So, pag informal communication, we have the grapevine, gossip, rumor. As the name implies, informal yung communication, no need for the memo, no need for the business type of communication. Normal naman ito because we are human. We are in an organization na tao din naman tayo, so we can express ourselves. Uy, alam mo ba, ganyan, ano? Lalo na pag mga breaks, rests, time out muna sa trabaho. Ayan. So may maririnig kang mga information that are not really part of the job, but you are able to communicate because let's say a person involved is in the organization. Ito yung mga patterns na pwede daw single strand. If you notice, kay Jones galing yung information, nagpasa-pasa. Pwede rin namang gossip strand kay Jones, and then meron siyang nahikayat na ibang tao para ipasa yung communication. Then the probability, ganun din, pero dalawa lang yung sinabihan ni Jones, let's say, ng buntis si ganito, halimbawa, sa company. Kaya pala hindi napasok, buntis. So, na-transfer ni Smith, ni Tinker sa ibang tao, etc. And then, pag cluster naman, so the essence is that may sinabihan ka, pasa-pasa, Pasa-pasa yung gossip, yung rumors, o yung mga information na nakita mo or narinig mo sa company. Interpersonal communication is the exchange of a message across a communication channel from one person to another. The problems are yung intended message versus message sent. Kasi kapag pinapasa natin yung communication sa isang tao, minsan nadadagdagan at nababawasan. Unfortunately, wala tayong activity. Maganda sana activity, Sige, may communication ako, ipasa mo kanino. Tingnan natin kung yung message yun pa din at the end. Minsan, hindi na. Nadagdagan na, nabawasan na. Depende dun sa naka-receive ng information at kung paano niya tinransfer yung message. Message sent versus message received, ayun nga. And message received versus message interpreted. Minsan, when we send our message to other people, we don't know how the person will take it, how the person will interpret it. So, ang nangyayari, iba yung interpretation niya dun sa sinabi mo, iba yung nai-transfer na message. So, we have to be very cautious and sensitive to the messages that we send to others, especially in an organization. Ito yung picture. We have the sender and the receiver. Sinabi mo yung gusto mong sabihin, what you want to say, and then what I say, and then yung receiver, narinig niya, na-receive niya yung information, paano niya dinecode yung information? So, paano niya na-interpret, paano niya nakuha, ano yung nag-grasp niya na information dun sa center. So, communication talaga is, it's not very complicated, but we can say that it's a complicated process because if the sender was not able to send the information properly, the intended message, magkakaroon ng miscommunication and conflict, in particular sa organization. So these are some problems. Intended message versus message sent. Think about what you want to communicate, practice what you want to communicate, learn better communication skills. So, ito yung gusto kong message na ibigay, ito yung napadala. So, paano daw ito maiiwasan? Practice. So, bago ka makipag-usap, bago mo i-transfer yung information, practicein mo muna. And then siguro you rationalize, kapag ba ito yung sinabi ko, ito ba yung message na mapapadala ko sa kanya? Yan. Next, message sent versus message received. So you have to use the actual words, communication channel, noise, nonverbal cues, paralanguage, artifacts, amount of information. Artifacts yung pananamit natin, yung ating decorum, nakaka-apekto din yun sa message na pinapadala natin. Diba pag tayo ay nakikipag-usap, it would be better to have eye-to-eye contact. Kasi yung truthfulness ng message na sinesend natin dun sa tao. Yung ating suot, kung maayos ba, bago pag binigay natin yung information sa tao, sa organization, ano ba itsura natin? Ano ba ang ating suot nga? Ano yung ating itsura? It may have an effect or, yes, an effect to the message that we send to the receiver of the message. Ayan. Actual words used. So, kailangan kung ano talaga yung word na gusto nating iparating, yun yung sabihin natin. How about use concrete words and ask how the other person might interpret your message. So, you avoid words such as soon as possible, I'll be back soon, I'll be out for a while. We have to be specific with the words that we want to share or to communicate to others. Then gender differences in communication, this is based on the study of Tannen. Tingnan natin kung tama. Ang mga lalaki daw, they talk about major events. Tama ba to? Pag women, they talk about daily life. Kasi mababusisi yung mga babae, no? Very specifics. Men tell the main point. Si women provide details. Men, they are more direct. Women, more indirect. Men use aha to agree. Women use aha to listen. Men are comfortable with silence. Unlike women, they are less comfortable with silence. Ako ay nag-agree dito. Kapag ang kausap ko ay tahimik, lalo na pag lalaki, naiinis ako. Lalo na kapag may, halimbawa, you need something to the person, hindi siya nagsasalita or hindi siya nag-react. Pero ang mga lalaki kasi ay nature ata din na silent. Ewan ko, ano ba ang point ng mga kalalakihan dito sa loob ng klase natin, that you are more comfortable with silence. Kami mga babae, we are uncomfortable with that at mas gusto natin na nagsasalita, more of details and messages. Concentrate on the words spoken ng men. Ang women, concentrate on non-verbal cues. And then men, sidetrack unpleasant topics. Women, focus on unpleasant topics. Do you agree with this? Na gender differences? Sige nga, tignan ko. Ang body, men and women. Can I hear at least one man and one man and one woman in the class? Ma-volunteer nga si Arvin. Naniniwala ka ba dun sa gender differences sa communication na presented kanina?
Good afternoon po, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Yes, Arvin.
Yung sa lalaki po, ma'am, ano po? less talk talaga po kasi yung mga lalaki, ma'am, para less mistake. Pero
Ganun ba?
pag nagsalita po yung lalaki, ibig sabihin seryoso na po. Kaya minsan nakakasakit. Kaya limitado lang po yung words. Para sa akin po, ako,
Okay.
personally. Yun po.
Oh, as a male, ano? How about sa female? Tingnan natin kung nag-a-agree sila dun sa mga gender differences sa communication. How about si Jovi? Jovi Mapilot.
Yes po. Nag-a-agree po ako, ma'am. Kasi po, oo nga po, yung mga babae more, kahit nga lang po example, dun sa sa relationship, more on yung babae, detailed. Alam nila yung oras, alam nila yung kung saan lugar. Pero yung mga lalaki, ang matatandaan lang nila yung pinaka-date lang. Parang yung babae masyadong detailed nga po. Tapos sila, yung direct lang po, yung lang, parang date lang yung tanda nila. Ganun po. Tapos yung sabi niya na less talk. Opo, agree po ako doon. Na less talk nga lang po yung mga lalaki. Pero minsan, mas okay din po yung yung talkative, ganun. May mga lalaki din.
Okay. So, may pinagdadaanan si Jovi. Talagang experience na experience niya yung mga ganong bagay. Though there are gender differences in the communication between the male and the female, parang magandang tandem, Magandang tandem sa organization na may lalaki at merong babae. Kasi may balance. Kung ang lalaki hindi masyadong madetalyado, ang women, madetalyado siya. Tapos, yung men, gusto nila, it's just the main points. Yun nga, si women, magpo-provide siya ng mga details pa. Si men, silent. Si women, more of talking and talking. So, it will give a sense of balance in the communication. Okay. Communication channels. Thank you for the answers, Arvin and Jovi. Communication channels, it can be oral or nonverbal written. Pag oral, edi you use the mouth to communicate. Non-verbal, pwedeng through letter, memo, email, ayan. And then the noise also plays a vital role in the communication. Pag maingay, minsan nawawala ka dun sa sasabihin mo, lalo na sa company, nagpe-present ka halimbawa ng report, biglang umingay. Naalala ko before, meron akong na-attendan na isang conference. Nag-present yung empleyado ng plan niya for the company. So kami as an evaluator, tinitingnan namin siya. Biglang may pumasok na hindi kasi siya close room siya, pero everyone can enter for as long as the person is involved in the session, in the conference. May pumasok, ang ingay. So parang nawala siya, no? Nawala siya dun sa momentum niya, nawala siya dun sa kanyang direction. Kasi umingay, nagkaroon ng extraneous variables, kumbaga. So this may influence the communication. Lalo na if you want to impart something, you want to stress out something, mas maganda hindi noisy, walang extraneous variables nga on your communication. Another is the appropriateness of the channel, the bias, feelings about the person communicating, the mood, the perceived motives. This affect influence, other things that may influence. It's not just about the message, but yung mga bagay na to, pagkasama na yung actual message, may influence the way we deliver or the way we deliver yung sender and then the way the receiver receives the information. Non-verbal cues also, sabi nga ay, may nabasa ako kagabi, kapag daw ang kausap mo ay nakabukaka, alam mo yung nakabukaka, ibig sabihin daw, interested daw yung tao sa'yo. Nabasa ko yun kagabi. Sabi ko, ganun pala. So, titignan ko. Kapag may nakikipag-usap sa akin na for face-to-face, nakabuka ka siya, interested ka pala sa akin. Merong mga pinaparating, yung mga non-verbal cues sa atin. Pag di nakakatingin ng diretsyo, nagalaw masyado yung mata, baka naman, mannerism niya. Meron itong meaning na nai-imply. Kaya dapat daw, when we communicate, when we send messages, we use proper yung mga gestures, non-verbal cues, kasi nga, meron itong meaning pag nag-communicate tayo. Body language, eye contact, interruptions, raising, lowering head, touching, lie pursing lips, raising chin, fidget, and nervousness. So this also influence our communication. Wait lang po. Wait lang kasi may very live ang ating perform. Sorry for that, for the interruption. Are you still with me? You raise your hand if you are still with me. Medyo malapit na tayong matapos. Don't worry. So, the body language influence our communication with others. Ayun nga, di ba? May interruption. So, naputol. Saan na ba tayo? Nasaan na ba yung ating pinag-uusapan? Lalo na pag organization, yung may mga bagay na hindi mo inaasahan, beyond your control, influence the message that you sent to somebody. Use of space, it also influences the communication, yung intimacy zone, personal distance zone, social distance zone. May mga parameters, inches away, yun natin masasabi kung intimacy ba siya, personal distance, social distance, or public distance zone. Ngayon, there is really social distancing. So, hindi ka talaga pwedeng magkaroon ng intimacy zone na sobrang lapit. Usually, ang mga tao na sobrang lapit ang mode of communication with others, edi very intimate. Masasabi natin close sila, kaya ganun yung intact yung kanilang communication, yung kanilang space. We can say na malayo, edi kapag you are not that having intimate relationship or strong relationship dun sa ibang tao. Depende on the message that you would convey doon sa iyong receiver. Use of time. Being late, tardy, leaving a meeting early, setting aside time for a meeting, multitasking, working while talking, this influences your communication. Yun nga, yung multitasking, when someone is communicating to you, and then may ginagawa kang ibang bagay, nakakainis. Meron akong nakuhang information, meron daw mga teachers gusto naka-open yung camera kasi gusto niya nakikita yung tao habang nagkaklase. Pwede naman yun, para makita talaga kung natutulog ba or anong ginagawa ninyo. Kasi someone is talking. So, someone would want to know whether meron pa siyang kausap. Yun. Saka time is very important. If you set a meeting, let's say ngayon, I set a meeting to you guys at meron naman talaga tayong klase. So, we have to value the time. Kasi it's a respect to the communication set, to the meeting set, di ba? And then basic assumptions about nonverbal cues and paralanguage. People are different in their use of nonverbal cues and paralanguage. Standard differences among people reveal information about the person, and changes in a person's style reveal new messages. No, two individuals are exactly alike, same with the communication. Merong mga iba't ibang ways on how we send the information. Merong masyadong ma-gestures, maraming body languages, may mga non-verbal cues na ginagamit. But the thing is, we have to listen to the message being sent. Kasi ang importante doon, it's not the observation on how they yes, it's important also on how they deliver the message. But in an organization, much important is the message being sent. Excuse me. Paralanguage, when we talk about paralanguage, the rate of speech, tone, tempo, loudness, volume, intonation, amount of talking, voice, pitch, poses. Alam mo na kapag galit, mataas na yung tono. So alam mo na yung how they deliver the message, nakaka-influence kung paano tinitake ng receiver yung message. Pero sabi ko nga, in an organization, mas importante kung ano yung message na binibigay. Pero we cannot set aside other things that influence the way the message is being sent. So kung mataas ang pitch, masyadong malakas, pautal-utal, napakaraming sinabi, of course, nakaka-apekto yon dun sa message na binibigay natin. Artifacts, ayan nga, yung what we wear, The office itself influence the communication, the decor, displacement, the car we drive, the house we live in. Yan. The amount of information. When we have too much information, like ngayon, ang dami nating information, pero I know you are too understanding of our situation. Ang tendency, we try to assimilate, we try to influence too much the person that we are talking to. Or we sharpen. Merong mga na tumatatak sa isip ng tao na nasabi nating message. Or meron din namang level, unimportant details are removed or terminated. Minsan, hindi natin maiiwasan that there are too much information that we need to hear, that we need to express. So these are things that we can do in order to at least give the gist, give the main point of the information, assimilate, sharpen, and level. Then, reactions to information overload. Sana wala pang ganito ngayon. Omission, error, keying, escape, use of a gatekeeper, use of multiple channels. Ang dami namang memo na binigay sa akin sa organization. Ang dami namang memo na binigay ni boss. So, hindi mo na alam kung anong gagawin mo. Ino-omit mo na yung ibang bagay, nawi-withdraw. Kumbaga, you concentrate on simple things or specific things. Kasi ang dami na, hindi na matake ng isip mo yung too much information. Wag naman sana yung escape. And then another problem, message received versus message interpreted. So we have the message, but the receiver may have a different interpretation of the message. That's why, if you're the receiver, you have to listen carefully to the message. You have to listen carefully to the sender. Importance of listening, ayan, 70% of a manager's job is spent communicating of the time. 9% in writing, 16% reading, 30% speaking, 45% in listening. So see, pinakamataas yung listening. Kasi in the listening, you will see the person, you can hear the person out dun sa straight from his or her mouth. And at the same time, ay mas nakukuha mo yung information when you listen perfectly or you listen properly to the sender. Other factors that influence communication, emotional state, paggalit ka, fear, anxiety, excitement, love. Kaya nga 'di ba sabi, pag intense yung emotion, wag kang mag-release ng words or communicate kasi it will influence your communication. Nasa peak ka ng emotion mo, galit ka. So marami kang nasabi, hindi mo na siya mababalik, hindi mo na siya ma-change. So it would be better to parang lessen first the heightened emotion before you communicate or you speak. Biases also. Kita naman, if you communicate and there are biases, which you should really avoid. Cognitive ability, this is true. You can determine whether the person knows a lot of things through communication. Yung masarap siyang kausap, may sense yung sinasabi niya. So kung sa organization, gusto mo na ang impression sa'yo is you are a person with a good cognitive ability, dapat ipapattern mo or isa-set mo yung message mo in a way na ang dating sa ibang tao, ang galing naman niya. Kasi napapag-aralan naman yun, di ba? Napapractice naman yun. Or naiisulat ng maayos or nasasabi ng maayos. And then, of course, drugs and alcohol. If you're under the influence of drugs and alcohol, of course, merong negative implication yan or result yan sa iyong communication. So, listening is very important. Therefore, we have to enhance our listening skills. Stop talking when you are listening. Let people finish. Focus on what the person is saying. Ask questions to understand factual information. Be patient and have an open mind. Use nonverbal cues such as eye contact and nodding head. Resist distractions and pause after the person has finished talking. These are some of the tips on how we can have a good listening skill. So, therefore, kapag may nagsasalita, dapat talaga titigil ka na you listen. Kasi may nagsasalita na eh. Importante din yung yung eye contact, yung pagnanod, na kasi yung nodding is an implication that you understand. You parang you know what he or she is talking. So importante din 'yun. And then patapusin mo siya sa sinasabi niya. Listen carefully. Parang take time. When you have good listening skills, you take time, you really listen, you practice good body language cues, and avoid the distraction when you are listening. Para bang sa dimension is you are in full dimension dun sa tao na nagsasalita. Then written communication skills, you may improve that. You may attend webinars, trainings to improve your writing skills, making material easier to read kasi written communication is a form of communication. So iba ito dun sa oral, ano? So kapag ang isang let's say written communication is hindi maganda or maayos, yung pagkakasulat, it may have a different effect doon sa tumatanggap. Halimbawa, the notice is termination. How will you write it in a way na hindi naman masyadong off? Though off talaga siya, nakakasakit pag tinerminate mo ang isang empleyado. Pero in a good writing skill, in a good writing means, mapaparating mo yung termination sa paraang hindi naman ganoon kasakit para doon sa empleyado. Or halimbawa, may meeting. How will you say na may meeting in a nice way na hindi mas-stressed out yung empleyado, hindi siya mararattle or mape-pressure. So, written communication skills. Writing is easiest to read when it has short sentences. You use simple rather than complicated words. Wag na magbida-bida. Minsan kasi sa organization, akala mo mas maganda mga highfalutin words ang gamitin mo, yung mga words na ikaw lang nakakaintindi. Hindi yun maganda. Mas maganda nga that the message is easily conveyed. Parang madaling maiintindihan ng taong babasa. Short lang, concise, simple yung words. Huwag kang gumamit ng unusual words. Spelling errors, check. By the way, sa Word naman, nagha-highlight kapag mali yung spelling. So, check mo na. And then, yung gagawin na written communication at 12th grade can read, can understand. Then, reading, of course, you have to consider yung 12th grade reading level. Sino ba yung magbabasa ng iyong communication? And kaya niya bang matake yung mga information na iyong ilalagay dun sa iyong written communication. Now, for the last part, ito na yung ating last slide. Let's go back to the slide though. And this is again the past code 230931. What I would like you to do is to share the takeaways for today. What have you learned from the session? Nakataas ang kamay ni Steven sa ni Kenrick. Bakit po? May gustong sabihin? Steven? And
Wala ma'am, napindot lang po.
Kahit
Okay.
hindi lang po naalis kanina.
okay, sige. Thank you. O sige, let us have the last poll for today. Your takeaways in our long discussion for today. Ano ang mga natandaan? Ano ang natutunan sa ating lecture for today? Let us see. So you proceed with your link dun sa kaninang link natin. Okay, ito pa naman siya. Ayan. You just go to the chat box and then press the link and let us see your takeaways for today. Nakakatuwa. We're talking about communication. And then I open my cell phone. Then merong nakalagay, congratulations, you received a millionaire. Yun lang yung nabasa ko. Sabi ko, milyonaryo na ako. Very important, di ba pag nagme-message, ang una lang natin nakikita yung parang pahapyaw ng message. So kung hindi ko siya inopen. Ba, ang aking interpretation, milyonaryo na ako with the message. Anyway, so today we discussed two things, emotional satisfaction and commitment, at the same time organizational communication. So what I ask is, in this poll, what are your takeaways? So that before we leave the platform, I know kung meron bang natandaan, meron bang natutunan sa ating long discussion ngayong araw na to. Wala pa pong nagsasagot. What are you answering? Raise your hand if you answer. Ayun, sige. Si Mark Shelin. Ayan. So these are the answers. Meron pa tayong isang sagot. Job satisfaction is an important factor to consider when maintaining an effective and happy employees. And then good communication is a key to a good and functioning workforce. Very good. How about yung iba? Ano ang mga takeaways ngayong ating discussion? Some may typing, ano? O ang iba kasi nakain, kaya multitask. How to make the employee satisfied to their job and how to increase job satisfaction. Also the reason why employees are leaving or quitting their job. And then lastly, to have better communication inside the organization. I learned today that communication and understanding is important, especially in an organization. If we have open communication, we can avoid conflict. Tatlo pa lang ito. How about ang iba? We are 20 plus inside our meeting room. Can I read or can I know your takeaways for today? Sige, let us give them time. Importance of job satisfaction, how to improve it, how lessen, how to avoid dissatisfaction. In communication, simple, the more clear or the clearer. Important in the communication to understand what you're trying to say and the different communication between women and men. Yung gender differences siguro yung binabanggit doon sa last statement. What else? Okay, go. BSP 4. 4 pa lang ang sumasagot sa ating takeaways. What are your takeaways for today? I was able to understand all about the organization. It was interesting because I've already been on the company and it was easy for me to understand the lesson because it was relatable. That's good. But hoping also that the topics that we had are also relatable with the others kasi soon naman kayo ay magiging employees din ng organization at ng company. Any more answers? At least more answers. 5 pa lang ang ating sagot. Nagtatype pa. Communication, really an important part of our daily lives. Maybe at home or work. A two-way process that requires understanding on both sides, and job satisfaction is important to an employee. Bakit kaya? Then, job satisfaction, important to organization, correlates to employee commitment. Twin sila, no? We should be careful of the words and also to nonverbal cues that we are doing because every nonverbal cues corresponds to a specific meaning. I learned more about the tips that you can do to have an effective communication. What else? Satisfaction, commitment, not just about money, any tangible things, numerous critical factors to consider in ensuring the employees will gain genuine experience as well as the whole organization. Okay, can I see 2 more before we have the questions pa? After the session, I was able to learn how to be a good employee, importance of job satisfaction has a big role to organization. We can have a better workplace if all employees are satisfied. Job satisfaction and competencies, effective ways, barriers, characters ng effective communication. May Tagalog dito, medyo masakit po sa mga walang jowa yung lesson po today, ma'am. I learned that job satisfaction and commitment are similar to a relationship with partner which we have to give and take. Of course, it is important for us to consider as well as the benefit of the company. A company or organization would not only work for our own good. Nakakatuwa naman yung kanyang takeaway. So, na-relate niya talaga sa kanyang pang-araw-araw na buhay. Siguro wala siyang jowa or wala siyang special someone, pero magkakaroon ka rin sa mga susunod na panahon. Then job satisfaction, job stability, career growth, comfortable work-life balance, good. Communication, pag satisfied, committed ang empleyado, mas magtatagal siya sa work, ang dami pa, ano? Importance ng ng job satisfaction sa productivity, ayan. And then, ano pa? Employee satisfaction, low-level positions should not be taken for granted. That is true, as they contribute to the company as much as others. Good communication is the key to healthy and harmonious relationships in the workplace. Actually, even if we end our class, you can still answer the poll para makita ko kung ano yung mga sagot ng bawat isa. But that would be the end of our presentation. But let me just remind you of course, the takeaways are good. Those are your learnings for the class. And thank you for the learnings. These are the outcomes-based assessments that you have to do for the class. Next meeting, before we proceed with our discussion, we'll have a 2-minute group facilitation of activities to increase satisfaction, commitment, or organizational communication. I-group ko kayo into 4 groups. You just have to wait on the FB page kung sino yung magkaka-group. And then 2-minute lang, bago tayo magklase, you think of an activity that would result to a higher satisfaction, commitment, and organizational communication. So you may search, you may brainstorm with your group mates kung paano to ifa-facilitate. So bago tayo magklase, magfa-facilitate kayo nito. And then yung test drills natin, kasi lagi tayong may test drills. So Friday, bukas ko ipopost yung test drills 8:00, pero pwede nyo siyang sagutan hanggang Monday. Pero like what I continuously say sa inyo, mas maganda na yung test drill, ginagawa siya in one sitting. Okay? Kung 50 items yung test drill, edi do it in 30 minutes or less than 30 minutes. Okay? So that would be all, and thank you for listening. If you have questions, we can entertain the questions. I will go back. Steven, yes, you raise a hand. I will stop the presentation. Yes, Steven? Steven? You may unmute yourself. Hindi kita naririnig.
Ma'am, doon po sa may test drill, may concern lang.
Yes, go ahead.
Po. Rinig niyo na po.
Yes, yes. Yes, naririnig na kita,
Unmute na po
Steven. Nawala na si Steven. May mga questions pa ba? Clarifications? Ayun, okay na. Yes, Steven.
Rinig na po.
Yes. Para lang siyang nasasara, ano? Naka-off ka dito. Sige, magsalita ka,
Po,
Steven.
may concern lang po ako sa test drill kung pwede po i-adjust yung time. Kasi po yung 15 minutes po para sa akin po. Baka hindi ko siya masagot ng 15 minutes.
Ah. Okay, sige. Pero it depends on the number of items. Nung last time kasi, 15 minutes lang sana yung allotted kasi less than 50 items siya. Sige, pwede naman nating i-extend. Pero yun lang yung ideal. Of course, if you can answer the question, let's say 25 items in 15 minutes, edi better. Sige, pwede naman siyang i-extend. Pero make sure that you answer the test in one sitting. Wag yung tinignan mo lang yung test tapos kinabukasan mo sinagutan. Wag ganun, no? Kasi 'di ba yung academic integrity pledge that you are doing the task truthfully, honestly, and based on the given instructions. Sige, Steven. We can adjust the time. How about the others? Any more concerns? 25 tayo kanina. Ilan tayo? Nawala na yung iba. Questions? Clarifications? Okay. I will stop the recording. If you have other more concerns and questions after I stop the recording, you may ask them later. Thank you very much.